Hello, everybody. Scott Golden, Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel here, and we are going to hit a lot of content in the next couple of hours. There will be at least 3 to 4 uploads as we catch up with this week's TV for Impact, AEW, and NXT. I've had a busy evening, but was able to catch up with all 3 shows, skipping commercials and such, and video packages that are useless anyway. And so I've been able to catch up on almost everything this week, which is cool because I like doing these TV reviews for you. Please like, subscribe, comment below. Also going to do some more Superstars of Wrestling stuff that's connecting with people really well. If there's a show you'd like to see reviewed, please comment below. Anyway, AEW Dynamite for the 29th of April 2020. I'm going to make a bold statement here, and I'd love people to react to it, respond to it, and kind of comment below. But I think this is the best bell-to-bell television program, episodic television program I've seen in at least a couple of years from any brand. I'm excluding pay-per-views, I'm excluding NXT takeovers because they're like pay-per-views. I'm talking just a weekly television program. I think this is one of the better things I've seen. Now, it's not flawless. There's a couple things I didn't like. But, man, I always look at the way I watch pro wrestling, the way I watch MMA is this. If I were not a fan of this thing, if I did not enjoy this thing, if I knew nothing about this thing, would I walk away wanting to see what happens next? That's the lens that I was taught to watch through when I was involved in the sport. That's the lens I've watched through probably for at least the last 15 years of my life. Just give you a little peek behind what my mind is thinking when watching any pro wrestling show. Anyway, so one thing I've got to say right off, man, I am going to miss Chris Jericho when he leaves the broadcast booth and goes back to wrestling. I'm so going to miss Chris Jericho because he's believable, man. Like, he's obnoxious when he needs to be, but he's charming when he needs to be. He knows how to get talent over. He knows how to talk in a way that keeps people engaged. His pacing is right. He knows how to come in and out of commercials well. He's so talented. And him and Shivani bounce so well off each other. And when I think about kind of dealing with the return of Excalibur, who he's good at an independent level, but he's not for me on a national television product. When I think about the return of 65, 67-year-old Jim Ross, who is very good. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of Jim Ross that I like, but there's just certain parts of AEW that he doesn't click with, and I think even he would admit to that. You know, some of the non-traditional stuff that he's just not a fan of. I think Jericho's a really awesome fit here. Anyway, we open with a semifinal match for the TNT Championship Tournament. Cody versus Darby Allin. These guys have literally almost a 30-minute match. Phenomenal match. If you are a fan of either guy, or even if you're not a fan of AEW, if you've never seen it before, or you tried it before and you didn't like it, please go out of your way to watch at least some of this week's program. These guys have a phenomenal match. I think Darby Allin is one of, if I have to narrow it down to 10, maybe definitely in the top 10, maybe even in the top 5 guys that are going to take the business through the 20s, provided he stays healthy. The story of the match is very simple. Darby Allin finds a weakness in the left knee of Cody early in the match and goes for it like his life depends on it. We see him utilize the everything from strikes to chop blocks, which, by the way, whoever taught Darby Allin how to chop block, please teach most of the people on the independents, because, wow, I actually bought, like, for a split second, between the selling of Cody and between Darby Allin, I actually thought, like, did he just, like, get really legit pissed and shoot in on him? Like, what happened here? And he goes back to it throughout the match. Starts with kicks. They brawl to the outside. Allin dodges Cody. Cody takes out his wife. Now, that's fine. I mean, I get that they want to give Brandy something to do. I get that she's the wife of an EVP and a guy who wouldn't. I don't even think there'd be an AEW if Cody didn't exist. But I don't know. Does she need to be taken out as much as she is? Does she need to be assaulted as much as she is? I'm not so much a fan of that. Cody gets going back in the right direction for a little while until Allen goes back to the knee. Then we see Allen use a heel hook knee bar and an Indian deathlock, all focusing on the knee of Cody. Just beautifully done. Like, I found a weakness, and I'm going to exploit it. I found a weakness, and I'm going to go with it. Cody rolls to the outside to collect himself. Britt Baker nails him with a shoe from the audience. Now, the shoe thing, yay. I'm not really a fan of it. It goes back to the 1980s with J.J. Dillon. Dillon hits people with a shoe during the Horseman. Might even go back before that, but the first time I remember seeing it was probably 87, 88 in old footage. It's just not my thing. I don't care for it. Most notably, it's part of the Nitro era during the early Nitro days before the NWO with the Horseman using a shoe handed in by Elizabeth. Again, not my thing. So we go to a commercial break. We come back. And then we see a lariat and an X-Plex and a disaster kick. Allen then hits Cody with his own maneuver, the crossroads for near fall. Allen uses a figure four. Now Brandy returns to the ring. Now that's stupid. Look, if you needed Brandy to be part of the finish, if you needed her to be part of cheering Cody on, if you needed her to be part of taking a strawberry raspberry mocha latte chate to the White House, I don't care what you needed her to do. There was no reason for her to get knocked out earlier in the match. Absolutely none. Doesn't make sense. Anyway, so she's back out there. She brings a bottle of water. Now, that's okay, I guess, but if Cody needs water, how come other wrestlers don't need water? How come water isn't a major staple in the existence of wrestling? If her husband needs water, does he have a health condition? Like, I don't know. It just, again, it doesn't fit. So Allen goes for a coffin drop. Cody caught him coming and then hit a crossroads. Allen kicks out of that and then went for another coffin drop, and Allen got his knees up. The finish. Sees Allen go for another coffin drop. He lands it, but Cody pulls him over into a backslide and pinned him. I mean, that's, a random pinning combination that goes from an overstated move. I love it. Cody now moves on to the finals. Great. Tremendous. So, we go to a Scorpio Sky personality profile. Sky says the formation of SCU is a big thing, that he gets picked up by Daniels and Kazarian. He was impressed with this. He started to get more notoriety by being with Daniels and Kazarian. And he's really excited by this. He was nervous at the time. Then we get a MJF promo. Yay! Finally. So he gives that from his Rat's Mansion in New York. He's made a miraculous recovery, and he says he nicked his neck while shaving, and he puts on a neck brace. He also says he's better than everybody. He says he hopes to be back there soon. All of this is good and gold and good stuff. Now, Wardlow versus Musa. I don't know if this is a shot at TNA's Moose, but that's what I thought when I first saw it. Wardlow wins an amazing quash. Quash? Is that like a quivering squash? I don't know. Anyway, just several power moves early. He hits a knee to the face and then an F10 for the victory. I don't think Wardlow needs to be on the show if MJF isn't there, unless we're eventually going to go with the idea that Wardlow outshines MJF when MJF isn't there, and we're going to turn the two. I don't think we need to do that this early, but that would be the only redeeming quality to Wardlow being present when MJF was not. Obviously, MJF can't travel because of the whole quarantine deal. but it's still frustrating. So a Bubbly Bunch episode. I don't know. I don't like this. It's not for me. I get why it works. The one good thing about it is a good distraction. It's a good interrupter. For those that understand psychology, when you've seen something heavier, when you've seen something that you're supposed to pay attention to, it's good to put things that you can kind of throw away and zone out on after them. And I think this is it, especially having two heavier promos with Scorpio Sky and MJF. Having something to throw away is cool. You know, I mean, there's celebrity cameos here. I guess that's cool because celebrities aren't doing anything. Vicky Guerrero's in here. Lou Ferrigno, yeah, the Hulk. Kevin Smith, Jericho's father, all making cameos. I guess it's fine, but at the end of the day, it doesn't do anything. But I don't think it's supposed to either. Now the match I didn't really care for. Best friends with Orange Cassidy versus Jimmy Havoc and Kip Sabian. And with Penelope Ford. I understand that there is a market for the best friends in Orange Cassidy. It's not my thing personally, but I get it. I get that they're kind of a tongue-in-cheek comedy act. They're fun. They're goofy. They're kind of like athletic bushwhackers to me. Like, that's how I see it. Like, they fill the role that the bushwhackers used to fill. They fill the role that the Killer Bees used to fill. They're comedy. That's what they're supposed to be. Now, Jimmy Havoc and Kip Sabian, I don't get either one. And I would love for someone in comments to say, look, go check this out. Go check that out. You're missing it. You don't get it, and I want you to get it. I'd love for that to happen because I don't like when I don't like a talent and see absolutely nothing in them. I really don't. I'm a supporter of all professional wrestling. I support independents. I support national companies. I support international companies. I support everybody because I've been there and I know how hard it is to be a wrestler. But Jimmy Havoc, okay, he was a hardcore guy. He did violent stuff. He was supposed to be like a British version of New Jack who happens to be really pale. Okay, I get it, but then you kill him off by having him lose matches. You kill him off by not following through with the staple gun thing from a few months ago. You kill him off by, just not having his character make sense. Now, Kip Sabian, I don't get it. Somebody show me a match where he really does really well. Now, he can have good matches, but so can any good hand. He can get attention, but so can any good hand. Tell me why, show me why Kip Sabian deserves a contract with a national company, because I want to believe that everybody there has a purpose, but I can't see it. And quite honestly, if I was booking something in AEW, he'd be the first guy I'd go, if we need to cut people, cut this guy. It's not personal. I just don't see where putting TV time into him makes sense. So anyway, match is chaotic. It is announced as a no DQ thing. I love that. I love that they announced it's no DQ. They didn't give me a why, but they didn't have to. At least they told me no DQ, no count out from the beginning. I wish they'd do that when they had Lucha Rules. I wish they'd do that when they had Triple Threat and there's like one pinfall rules. I wish every time the rules were non-traditional, the announcers would take 15 seconds and tell us so. It makes things more enjoyable. This match goes very long. Trent and Sabian hit topes early. Havoc throws a chair at Cassidy's head. Really stupid idea. I understand he got his hands up. I understand that there's a way to do that safely, but that doesn't mean that kids at home who now are on quarantine and want something to do don't go and grab a garden chair and huck it at their sister's head, and then there's problems. There's just certain things that, especially in an empty arena, why do it? It's dumb. Because now kids think, I can do this. There's no people there. There's no people in my backyard. Let me huck a chair at somebody, and this will be good. Just really, really dumb. Anyway, so Havoc suplex Taylor onto a pile of chairs on the floor. Trent spears Havoc on the floor. Again, a lot of rolling around. Fine. They bring a ladder out. Again, the ladder thing. Okay, look. We're in an empty arena, right? If there's extra bodies out there, right? If you really need to use the ladder, what's the harm in having somebody go off camera, go into the backstage area, retrieve a ladder, come back with it, and use it then? The whole ladders, chairs, tables, fire extinguishers, underwear, anything under the ring. Why? Like, who, when they're setting up a ring, goes, let's leave a weapon here? No. It's flawed logic in pro wrestling that needs to die a death. Because while I have no problem with the inclusion of weapons, I want the weapon to come from somewhere that makes sense. And under the ring has never made sense. Anyway, the ladder looks pretty brutal, and it didn't break until later in the contest. Trent and Taylor throw chairs at Havoc's head, and then they went off and did their hug. I hate the inside-out camera angle with the hug, but I get it. People like it. It gives them a reason to pop. Okay, I get it. Even though there's no people there, let's do what we normally do when there are people here so it looks and feels like home. Great, no problem. Anyway, Taylor hits a pile driver on Sabian into a pile of chairs. Again, they're using the chairs too much. Now when you need to use a chair, it won't matter as much because we're using it 27 times in one match. Taylor went for a cover, but and then there's a pull-up. Cassidy runs back down to the ring. He topples Havoc. He stops Havoc from putting Taylor through the ladder. Penelope Ford accidentally hits a knee strike and a spear onto Sabian, who I guess is her boyfriend. She's trying to hit Cassidy. Cassidy hits a dive off the post to Ford and Sabian. And then the final match sees Taylor hit an awful waffle onto Havoc on a pile of chairs for the pin. Okay, so here's what we've learned. We've learned a tag team wrestler who has a 50-50 record or a little bit better is more menacing in a no-holds-barred, bring-the-weapons match than your supposed hardcore hero? Again, unless the plan is to get rid of Jimmy Havoc, in which case, good for them. I don't get why this is the way the match unfolds. Sell me, show me, tell me something. Anyway, so a beautiful Britt Baker role model video package airs. I love these. It makes me laugh because it's so sarcastic. It's like, damn, I hate her, but I love her. You know, it's cool. It reminds me a lot of the late 90s, early 2000s 3i Intensity, Integrity, Intelligence Kurt Angle stuff. She's so good at being bad. Then we see a co-star of Rebel who's formerly in TNA and is one of the makeup artists for Baker. Baker gets her name wrong. Baker says not everyone can be a role model. Boy, do we know that's correct in current times. People who wear glasses can't be unless they're doctors. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates. Okay, it's a little under the radar, but I get where she's trying to be annoying, so that works. Fat people can't be role models. Well, there's a whole group of people that would believe that. They call them personal trainers. People with snaggle teeth can't be role models. Well, don't tell that to the Briscoes over in ROH because they might disagree. Baker used a photo of Shivani to illustrate these points. I love the fact that they're still playing up the Tony Schiavone Britt Baker thing. I still want it to be where she actually finally falls for Shivani, and then Shivani is like scared of his life, so he refuses to have an affair with Britt Baker, and she knocks his teeth out. Like, that would be comedy gold. There's a place for comedy in wrestling, and I think there's a way to do it and have fun with it. Now, Shawn Spears versus Baron Black. Okay. Spears wins a squash with a sharpshooter. Don't know why it's a sharpshooter. Don't understand where they're going with Shawn Spears. I think he's a guy that's been undervalued. You know, I don't get where they went wrong with him. I also don't get why in 2020 we don't have some sort of video, audio, Twitter video, Facebook, FaceTime, something from Tully Blanchard. This does not make sense to my brain that you have a guy like Tully Blanchard, you have a guy like Jake Roberts, you have a guy like Arn Anderson, all of whom, yes, they're in the risk factor for COVID. I get it. So you don't really want them to travel. Get that too. But why they can't patch in promos when they're some of the best in the world? I don't understand that, especially when I'm sure all of them would do it. Taz breaks down Lance Archer's blackout finish in a video package. I love that they're trying to get finishes over. I love that Taz is used as a guy who's semi-legitimate in order to do so. It's unique. It's different. It's almost like a UFC feel where they're getting us to care about finishes. This is so well done. Brody Lee versus Marco Stunt. Lee hits a big boot and a series of power moves, and then pins Stunt with a sit-out powerbomb. Marco Stunt did what he's supposed to do here. He fell to the much larger guy. The only thing that I would have liked to have seen is give it 30 seconds. Actually, take the commercial break. You come back from commercial, and Marco is crawling on his hands and knees, or better yet, he's crawling on his forearms to get to the back. He's not going to let anybody help him. He's still fighting. He's got the gumption. He's got the pride. He's got it all. And I think that does a bit to get him over. So, John Moxley does a promo now from I guess a junkyard or something. I don't know where he is. I don't really care. Because he's just phenomenal with what he's doing. He's thankful for Jack Daniels, his wife, and steel chairs. Now, one of these things is not like the other. Admitting he's thankful for his wife on TV. I wonder if Vince McMahon had a vein pop in his head or his neck, for fear that he'd mention who his wife actually is. Anyway, so DDTs are always better on steel chairs, he says. He says they didn't teach Jake Hager that in Oklahoma. He says he'll be back swearing and bleeding in front of a crowd again soon, and we'll all be together again soon. I love that. It's the first time I think I've heard a wrestler talk about there's hope at the end of the rainbow. I love that Moxley, as a world champion, is doing it. Moxley says that Dynamite's live next week, and he's throwing some CDs in his truck. He's driving. He knows he's got a target on his back with Double or Nothing, the pay-per-view coming up. Surprised they're still pushing the pay-per-view. Don't really understand that, but I guess if you're contractually obligated to do it, maybe they're stuck with it. I don't know. Moxley ends the promo by telling us to support local businesses by ordering takeout, and most importantly, not to forget to call our grandmothers. Like, he's so relatable. He's just like, he's the gruff guy who might have a soft side. I love John Moxley at this point. Now, I'm going to be completely honest, I was bored with him until he won the championship. Or actually, it was the night that he won the championship from Jericho, which I still question the wisdom of. I wish it had been... first of all, I wish Jericho had held the belt longer. Second of all, I wish the person to beat Jericho had been an AEW homegrown guy instead of a former WWE guy. But if you had to go this way, Moxley is the right choice. I just wish Moxley had been champion number 3 and not champion number 2. Personal preference. Moxley versus Kazarian and MJF was announced for next week's program. Also announced was Omega and Matt Hardy versus the Sex Gods of Jericho and Sammy Guevara. Kenny Omega and Matt Hardy, I think it's a waste of Matt Hardy, but that's just me. And I'm not anti-Omega, so don't everybody jump down my back. But if Omega's still a tag team champion, and he is, shouldn't he be worried about, defending the tag team championships? Shouldn't he be worried about where his partner is? Why do we throw him on TV in a throwaway, non-sequential tag team match that really doesn't matter in the end of it? We could give Matt Hardy another partner, and if it's me, even if it's for a one-off night, I bring in somebody that WWE released just for one-off, and just be like, look, AEW, the land of opportunity. There's no guarantee that there's a contract. If this person loses the fall, they're not going to be brought back. But just change the vibe, you know what I mean? Like, fire it up. and make it mean something. I'm sure Tony Khan could afford $2,000 or $3,000 to bring in a Zack Ryder or a Noe Jose or something, and like Matt Hardy goes, "Aha, McMahon, you didn't think that I was going to bring with me people through my broken brilliance." Like, there's a million ways to go with it that make people tune back into to TNT and to Dynamite on a deeper level, just because there's that air of anticipation and unpredictability that existed when Nitro was on top peak between late 95 and let's say late 97. Because, I mean, everybody knows that by 98, Nitro started to die. By 99, it was dead. By 2000, it was being kept alive on life support. Anyway, but they're still in the infancy age where they can still turn things around with that type of stuff. So now your main event, again, Lance Archer with Dustin Rhodes. This is to be expected. I would have put Rhodes and Archer in the opening segment. I would have put Cody and Darby in the final segment, again, because to me, I'm putting a guy in the final segment who looks like he's a future star. I'm not sold on Archer yet. He's not bad, but he's not a Darby Allin. He's not a Sammy Guevara. He's one level below, and if I want to get him over, I give him a segment where the crowd hasn't been treated to as much. With uh, the gimmick match of the best friends and whatnot, and then the better match of Cody and Darby. I just would switch where these matches are. Anyway, they go through a couple commercial breaks. Slow paced match. Archer sends Rhodes to the outside with a pounce, grabs a chair, again from under the ring. Dum dum. Why not just reach over the guardrail and grab a chair from there? Makes more sense. Anyway, Archer continues to work on a cut that he opens in Rhodes' face with a chair shot. The idea was to let the blood provide drama. And I mean, it works well, but again, do we really need the blood with Archer being so big? Or could we have saved the blood for a major blow off at a pay-per-view or something like that? Rhodes fires up. He comes back. He hits strikes. And then Rhodes misses a knee. Archer uses a basic approach and kind of slows the match down. Come back from a second commercial break. Dustin hits a destroyer, strikes, and then Rhodes hits a lariat. Archer ducks a bulldog, but Rhodes hits a power slam. Dustin Rhodes power slam, a thing of beauty, especially with the power slams I'm watching on the Old School series, which if you haven't checked that out, the Superstar series, certainly worth checking out if you like my more modern reviews, because I have more fun with the Old School stuff, because I enjoy the Old School stuff a bit more. Anyway, so Rhodes goes up for 10 punches in the corner, otherwise known as the dumbest spot in wrestling, but it is what it is. Archer cuts him off halfway through, and then Rhodes hits a crossroads, but Archer kicks out at 1. Now, you've just killed Cody's finish. If you had to use that, I would have waited to the pay-per-view when Cody and Archer do business. Rhodes comes back off the top into a choke slam by Archer for a near fall. That could have been a finish right there. Archer walks the top rope and hits a moonsault for a near fall. Wow. Great athleticism from a guy that's 6'5", 6'7", whatever he is. That's worth checking out. Archer went for the blackout, but Rhodes blocks it. Another chokeslam for a near fall. And then Rhodes comes out from behind with a backslide using wrestling to almost win. Beautifully done there. Exposed turnbuckle and then sends Rhodes face first into it. QT Marshall comes out to ringside with a towel. He threatens to throw the towel in. Cody runs out and stops him. Cody asks Dustin if he can continue, but Dustin says he does not want the towel thrown in. Doesn't make sense that he wanted to retire a week ago, but now he wants to fight this big monster again. Doesn't like the logic people are not in force here. Anyway, pulls him to the center of the ring and uses a claw to get the pin. Archer looks dominant. Cody and Archer looks like a dream match, or at the very least, a confrontation we've got to see a conclusion to, and they close an amazing event. I'm looking forward to Dynamite next week. I'm looking forward to the return of stars I haven't seen in a while. This is the type of show to go out of your way to see. You can skip a couple of segments, but for the most part, I'd say in an hour and a half of wrestling, an hour and 10 minutes of it, an hour and 5 to 10 minutes of it, worth watching. Go out of your way to see this, even if you're not an AEW fan. If you don't like it, well then AEW stars aren't for you. But it's worth checking out. In any event, Scott Golden Opportunities Coaching, my core business. Go join the Golden Opportunities channel if you're looking for life advice, life coaching. But if you're just a wrestling fan, we've got more coming up for you. Like, subscribe, comment below. Until next time, everybody.